I'd like to talk about the criminalization of the American doctor. Why does the government want the doctor to be considered dishonest? And why are everyday business activities for everybody else now considered a criminal act for many physicians? Good questions. Let's look at the many aspects that's going on. First of all, let's look at the physician ownership of physical therapy, potentially MRIs, and surgical centers as being potentially illegal. Now, I'm an orthopedic surgeon and I do surgery and I want patients to go to physical therapy. When I started way back and had physical therapy, I owned it. In other words, I'd order the physical therapy, patients would go and they'd get the physical therapy. Well, the government says, you know, it's too possible you could be doing too much, so we're going to make it illegal. So I sold my physical therapy to another company. They bought it. They immediately doubled the cost to the patients and started adding more things per visit. So the average bill of that patient, when I looked up, went up 130% once it was no longer owned by the physician. Now, isn't that great? Let's look at MRIs. The government says, well, physicians shouldn't own MRIs, or at least they're trying to get away from that. Okay, let's look at situations like Canada. Canada has 9 MRIs. Why? Because the government pays for the MRIs. There is no investment capital in MRIs. There's no reason to build them. So they have 9 in the country of Canada. A friend of mine who had a stroke in Nova Scotia, had they been in the United States, could have got a CT scan at least within an hour or two and had the medication given to reverse that stroke. This person was 6 hours from the nearest CT scan in Nova Scotia. So obviously they didn't get the medicine, which is exactly what they want. Look at the money they save by not having to give this expensive medication or the CT scan. Well, in San Antonio, we probably have 30 MRIs. You say, well, golly, there's some overutilization. And you know what? There may be. But most of the overutilization I see in MRIs is patient-driven. In other words, if I have a patient that comes in with a cartilage tear in their knee and it's locking, I don't need an MRI. I already know it's a cartilage tear, but a lot of patients demand it. And you know what? It should be your right as a patient to get that. So the access is there, but the capital's there, because who else is going to put $3.5 million into a machine other than those that can conglomerate that kind of money for that kind of care? Look at surgical centers. Surgical centers are now being attacked because many are physician-owned. Okay, so I want to do an arthroscopy of a knee. I don't want to go to a big hospital and wait 2 hours, do a case, wait 2 hours and do a case when you can turn around in 10 and 15 minutes. And as a patient, you don't want to wait that long. And you don't want to go to a big hospital and sit next to somebody multi-trauma and get infected from that patient when all you need is a knee arthroscope. But surgical centers brought out where we can do our outpatient procedures quickly, efficiently, the staff's happy, it's done nicely, and it's cheaper. The government pays half for surgical centers they do to the hospital. Yet they still don't want physicians to own the surgical center, okay? Because they, quote, you'll overutilize it. You're going to do the scope either way. Just one way, it actually saves the government money, but they can't stand the idea of the physician making that. And to me, it's like really insulting. That's like making a law where a mechanic can't own his own garage, okay? And yet a physician can't own a surgical center. I think physicians ought to be held at least to the same level as perhaps a mechanic. Next thing, overbilling. Physicians can go to jail for overbilling. Interestingly, they can go to jail for underbilling. Okay, so what they've come up with now are electronic medical records. This is a big thing. And now if you go to the doctor's offices, for those that have it, instead of your doctor touching you, they sit there and they hit buttons. And what they're doing is scoring things they ask you and scoring things they talk about. It's called electronic medical records. It goes boom, 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 boom. It's like a monkey hitting lights to get money. And when they come up with a certain amount of hits, that's what they can bill you. That's what electronic medical records is all about. And if the doctor charges more or less than what that boom, boom, boom was, they can be fined or go to jail. Again, the whole point of EMR is for the government to check on the physician. Now, instead of going boom, boom, boom on the screen, that physician should be touching the patient, asking the patient, and dealing with the patient the way we learn in medical school. The other thing is so-called kickbacks. Can you believe the government considers if I give you free medicines, samples, potentially a kickback? That's how bad it's gotten. Why? Because Their thinking is, if I give you free medicines, you may come back more, and again, it's overutilization. The reason I give you free medicines is because your plan won't cover it, and I want you to have the medicine for at least that week until we can battle the insurance company to get that medication. I also want to make sure you're not allergic to it before you spend your good money on this sort of thing. So you can see how the doctor can now be criminalized for everyday normal business activities that occur out there with everybody else. So why criminalize the doctor? Well, number one, many of the politicians who are taking money from lobbyists think because that's the way they are, that's the way you are, and that's not true. Second of all, if you have wealth as a physician, you have power, and when they try to put government medicine down our throat, the more power physicians have, the more we're going to fight it. Third of all, if you make everyday activities criminal, then the government at any time can come in and arrest your physician if they stand up to what's coming down the pike, which is government medicine, and many of us are going to fight it. These are my opinions. Any comments? I'd like to hear them. Two ways to reach me. Reach me on needfoundation.org or fax 696-9012 to ask the doctor.
Hi, I'm Danielle. I injured my knee back in February, but thanks to the foundation, I'll be playing again.
I'm Dr. Peter Holmes. The Orthopedic Need Foundation was formed to help those families who are underinsured or uninsured to return their athlete to their sport. Please help us to return kids back to their sport after injuries like this.
You can send your donations online at www.needfoundations.org or call 210-542-1722. All donations are tax deductible. Make a difference in a child's life.